Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For my video today, we are going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite reptiles, the ball python. I know you cannot see his head, but he's back there. Now, I have absolutely adored ball pythons for a long time, as have many other people. Now, ball pythons are absolutely amazing snakes for so many different reasons, and a lot of people absolutely love them, and then there is a lot of people who hate them, and a lot of people who just honestly think they're overrated. So in this video today, I'm basically just going to be telling you guys why I think ball pythons are absolutely amazing, what I love about them. The very first thing I just want to talk about is morphs, ball python morphs. If you don't know what a morph is essentially the color and pattern of a snake. So far in this video, I have already shown you 3 different morphs. Every single snake I have shown you so far has been a ball python, despite the fact that they have all looked completely different. They are all the same animal. They are a ball python. So now, to talk about morphs, I figured we should probably start with the basics. This here is Angel, and she is one of my ball pythons. Now, if we're going on the notion of morphs, Angel is just a normal. She has no fancy morphs. This is just a wild type or a normal ball python. Now, all that this means is that this is what ball pythons typically look like. This is their normal pattern. If you go to the wild and you find ball pythons, they will look like this. All of those other ones that you just saw, all of the colors and patterns, those do not typically occur in the wild. This is what you will find. So this that you see here is Angel, and this is just the very basics of a ball python. This is what they naturally look like. This is their natural pattern. That's really all there is to it. Now, when it comes to normals, there is still some variation. Some will be darker than others, some will be lighter than others, some will be a little more yellow than others. There can still be variations when it comes to normals, but overall they will look like this, where they have some lighter brown coloring, maybe a bit of yellow in them, and then some darker brown coloring. Now, moving on up in the world of morphs, we here have a banana ball python. So again, the banana just refers to the snake's morph. So this here is Casper. He is my banana ball python, and in case you're wondering, the banana is just what causes him to be yellow and almost purplish here. So if you remember Angel from before, she was very brown. She was light brown, dark brown with a little bit of yellow, but then you take a look at Casper here, and he is a very yellow with a little bit of a purpley brown to him, and he even has some freckles on him. This is just what a banana morph looks like. These are still ball pythons. They are the same animal. He is just a different color. Moving on up, once again, here we have Toby, who is my Pastel Pied ball python. Now, you may have heard me say 2 words there. He is a Pastel Pied. So Toby here has 2 different morphs in him, so he is a 2-gene morph. The first one would be the pastel. Now, a pastel typically looks very similar to a normal, but they have a lot more yellow in them. I will insert a picture on the screen here of just a normal pastel. So when you compare a pastel to a normal, the pastel has a lot more bright yellow color to it than a normal does, but they still have very similar patterns. And then you look at Toby here, and you may realize he does not just look like a typical pastel ball python. You may see he has all of these white spots around him. The white spots that you see are the pied gene. So a pied ball python has these white markings on their body, which is essentially just what the pied gene is. Now, when it comes to pieds, there are high whites, medium whites, and low whites. So some of them can be almost all white. Some of them may kind of be in between. They have some white, you know, but it doesn't cover their whole body by any means. And then there can be a very, very low white pied, which have little white to them. Now, Toby here would be what is considered to be a low to medium white pied ball python. As you can see, he does have a couple very prominent white spots on him, but as you can see, he definitely has a lot more color to him than he has white, so he is a low to medium white pied ball python. Now, there are so many more morphs. I only have 4 here. I have Angel, who is a normal. I have Titan, who is a lesser. He was the first snake that I showed you. Then we have Toby, who is a Pastel Pied, and then we have Casper, who is a banana. So there are tons of different morphs out there when it comes to ball pythons. The fact that ball pythons have so many different morphs is what makes them such an incredible animal to me. Now, different animals out there have morphs. Corn snakes come in different morphs, leopard geckos come in different morphs, boas come in different morphs. A lot of animals you get come in different morphs. But when it comes to ball pythons, to my knowledge, they have the most variety. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of different morphs out there, and they are constantly discovering more are being created. There is no limit to ball python morphs out there. It's crazy. Because of this, I think ball pythons are incredible, but a lot of reptile keepers also see this as them being very basic. A lot of people keep them. They are probably one of the most popular kept pet snakes out there, so they are very basic in that terms. They are a very basic pet snake, but just because they are very commonly kept pets does not make them basic to me, because there is so much to them and they just have so much to offer. This is honestly just one of the main reasons the ball pythons are so amazing to me, is just the variety of morphs they come in. It is so crazy to think that an animal that started out like this, only looking like this, only occurring in this morph, has now become so many other morphs. There are so many colors and patterns, and they all originated from snakes that look just like this. Now, a lot of these morphs have occurred through things such as selective breeding, whereas other ones have occurred just through natural mutations. An albino ball python is an example of a morph that has just occurred through natural mutations. There is no selective breeding involved when it comes to an albino ball python. So morphs can come about in all different types of ways, such as selective breeding, breeding different morphs together to get a new one. There is just the natural occurring ones. It is absolutely incredible, I think, how much variation there is to ball pythons. It honestly is just incredible to me. Like I said, an animal that just normally looks like this, naturally occurs like this, has now become an animal that occurs in like thousands of different colors and patterns. It is crazy to me to think about. It is absolutely insane. I mean, think about it. You have an animal that is naturally just brown, nothing but brown, maybe a little yellow in it. And now we have versions that are bright yellow with purple in. And then there's ones that have white spots on them. There is so many variations to ball pythons. There are full white ones, there are orangey ones, there are brown ones. There are just some crazy patterns out. I think it is absolutely incredible. So while ball pythons may be a very basic snake to own, they may be very popular, I don't think that makes them basic as a species. I think that they are an absolutely incredible species for so many different reasons. Now, talking about morphs, there are some things people have questions about. They have questions if there are any bad morphs, and the answer to that is yes. There are some morphs out there that cause neurological problems. There are some morphs out there that cannot breed. There are some bad morphs out there, and I personally do not support the breeding of these animals. One of the most popular bad morphs would be a spider ball python. So this here is a spider morph. Now, there are some common issues to the spider morph. Spider morphs often have neurological issues known as a wobble. This is basically just a neurological issue, and it causes them to kind of head tilt, and they have troubles eating sometimes, and some of them, they'll just do weird things with their head and neck. They'll turn upside down. So overall, it is just a neurological issue which was resulted by breeding the spider ball python, and it is very, very prominent in any spider ball python. Now, to me, this is fairly unfortunate because spiders are very beautiful ball pythons and they run for fairly cheap, but unfortunately, they have this neurological issue. So personally, I do not support the breeding of it because I don't understand why you would breed an animal that has neurological issues just because you like the way it looks. many beautiful spider morphs out there, such as banana spiders and calico spiders or whatever. There's just a lot of beautiful spider morphs out there, but I personally would never buy one because I do not want to support the breeding of an animal that has neurological issues. So to answer that question, yes, there are bad morphs out there. Spiders are not the only one, but they are definitely the most common. So if you are looking to get a ball python, I would definitely research the morph you may be getting to see if there are any issues with it. Most of them do not have issues, I will say that. The majority of ball python morphs are completely healthy, but there are very select few out there that do have issues. So like I said, if you plan on getting a specific morph and you personally are not interested in getting one with neurological issues or supporting that, research the morph you want to get and see if there is any issues with the breeding of that morph. Another common question people have when it comes to morphs is the price. Now, a lot of people probably have noticed that different ball pythons run for different prices, and some people understand why and some people don't understand why. So we're gonna talk about that. So why exactly is this snake here a $30 to $50 snake? And why is this snake a $200 to $300 snake? And why is this snake a $400 to $500 snake? And now those price ranges are only for the snakes that I have. There are many other morphs out there that go for even way more than that. There are some morphs out there that go for thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of dollars even. And why? Why are some snakes $30 and why are some $500 and why are some $5,000? Essentially, this here is a normal ball python, as I already said, and this is likely going to be the cheapest ball python you will find around. Now, these will often go for like $20, $30, $40, $50 and very low prices like that. And the reason why is because they are the most basic form of a ball python. They are the easiest to breed. Some big reptile keepers only want fancy morphs. For me, I like it all. I like the normals and I like the fancy morphs, which is why I have both. So normals are definitely your cheapest option when it comes to buying a ball python because they are the easiest to breed, there is the most of them, and some people just don't want them and some people do want them. There is a high demand for normals from some people and then there is a low demand for normals from another group of people. Then we take an animal such as a banana ball python, and these typically go for like $150, $200 to $300 depending on where you live and who you're getting it from. Now, the reason that bananas are more expensive than normals would be the fact that they are a little harder to breed and there are less of them. And there is still a fairly high demand for them, so people want them when you have them. There is not like an overstock of bananas like there is for normals. There is a lot of normals out there. So since a banana is a morph, it does take specific animals to breed them. So because of this, it can be a little bit more difficult to breed a banana than it is to breed a normal. So because of this, bananas are a little higher in price, typically around $200 to $300. And then we take an animal such as Toby here, who is my personal most expensive ball python. Pastel Pied ball pythons typically often go from around $400 to $450 to $500, maybe less, maybe more, depending on who and where you're getting it. Now, the reason that a pastel pied ball python is more expensive from something such as a normal would again be the fact that they are harder to breed, and especially for a pastel pied because they have two genes in them. So in order to breed them, you need to be breeding two genes instead of just one, such as the banana. So as I was showing you before, the banana ball python is a single gene animal, whereas a pastel pied is a two gene animal, so it does take a little more work to breed these guys. So because of that, their price is a little higher as they are even harder to breed than something such as a banana. And again, there is a demand for them, so you know, supply and demand, things that are in demand will have a higher price. So as I was saying, Toby here here is a 2-gene animal, a Pastel Pied. Now Pastel is a single gene animal which is typically fairly cheap. You can often find pastels for $50 to $100 depending on where you're getting it from, right? So they have a very low price tag on them, similar to a normal but a little bit more. And then you take the second gene in him, which is a Pied. Now Pieds are a little harder to breed and they are definitely in demand, so even though a Pied is a single gene animal, it is still a little more pricey, around $300 to $400. So then when you get those two genes put together, the Pastel and the Pied, you get a Pastel Pied, which is going to be more expensive than both a Pastel and a Pied because it is both of them put together essentially, so you will be paying a little more. Now a common question that people have when it comes to ball pythons, their morphs, and their price tags is there a difference? Is there a difference in a snake that costs $500 and a snake that costs $50? And ultimately the only difference is the color / pattern. They are still the same animal. They typically behave very similarly. Obviously each and every snake will have its own personality, but for the most part they will have very similar traits and they require all of the same care. Really the only difference is the fact that the more expensive animal is probably a different color and a different pattern. And Titan here is wanting to run away. Some people think that it is absolutely crazy to pay so much for an animal that you could essentially be buying for $50, and if you think that way then that is totally fine. And then there are other people who think the complete opposite and they think spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on a specific morph is totally worth it. But whatever your opinion on that is totally fine. If you would rather just spend $50 and get a normal ball python, then go for it. If you want to save up $2,000 and buy a fancy ball python, go for it. Those are the main reasons I think ball pythons are so amazing, is just essentially the variety of them, the morphs, just all of the variations. It is so incredible to me. Now there are a few other reasons as to why I think ball pythons are such incredible snakes that we will touch on quickly. These aren't going to be very long reasons, these are just going to be a few short points that I wanted to get in this video. And one of them is just the fact that they are so docile and easy to handle. I mean, look at her. She's just balled up in my hand. This is where they get their name from, a ball python, because they just ball up. This is another reason as to why ball pythons are such popular snakes in the pet keeping community, is just because they are incredibly docile and to handle. Now of course, as I said before, each and every snake will have its own personality and some will be a little harder to handle than others, but for the most part they are very calm, easy snakes. And I think another reason that they are so amazing is just they have absolutely amazing personalities. I'm an owner of 4 ball pythons and I have found that each and every one has its own personality. Titan is by far my most active snake. Angel is the shyest. Toby is very curious, as is Banana. His name is Cass. As is Cass. So they really all have their own personalities, which I absolutely love about them. And as I said, for the most part, all of their personalities are relatively calm. They are relatively easy to handle. So that is a great thing about them. They are very slow moving snakes, so you don't really have to worry about them really slithering away from you really fast or anything like that like some other snakes will. They are not like that. They are very slow and calm for the most part. As you can see here, he is not trying to escape me. He is not trying to run away. He is not making a break for it. He's just chilling here. He's perfectly fine, just slowly moving around. So a lot of times when you own ball pythons, a lot of what you know comes from experience, because there is just so much information out there that really doesn't work for everyone. Some things work for some people, some things work for someone else. Some people might have totally different opinions on how to care for them, and that is okay. There is just a lot of information out there and a lot of it is contradicting to each other, so that can be a little overwhelming and confusing. But for the most part, they are still very easy to care for. They are very easy to get. You could go to like any really pet store, reptile expo, reptile store, what breeder, and they will probably have ball pythons. They are very common. Now with all of this being said, I do want to touch on something quickly. Even though they are amazing animals and they can be great for beginners, please make sure if you want to get a ball python, you are doing all of the proper research and you know what you're getting into. Don't just go out and impulse buy one. one because you think they're cool or you think they're pretty. They are a full-time commitment. They require proper care. Basically, what I'm just trying to say is if you want to get one, make sure you do a lot of research on them. Don't just go out and buy one because they're cute. But all of that being said, this is why I think ball pythons are so amazing. I think that they are awesome animals. With all of that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already and turn on notifications so then you never miss when I post. Also, be sure to check out all of my social media. Everything is just EmmaSam99. It will be in the description below, but you know, go check that out. It's all EmmaSam99. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.